Okay, good morning again to all. This was just a project that is not within KBB. That was to have a presentation on sustainable development and plant innovation. However, this project has been presented to the Ministry of Ecology and Environment in France for the preservation of biodiversity and sustainable development. It has not been retained, and I've seen on the KBB list that some of the biodiversity preservation program could do the job. So if anyone's got some ideas correlated to endemic species, feel free to contact us. So the project name was Endemic. I'll give you two examples of sustainable development projects that we have carried within our cluster. I'll skip through that. You'll have the presentation online. You know where Reunion Island is? Well, now let me make you dream a little. Come and see us. This is the headquarters of the group FASH. This is the company that was the project leader on this Endemic project. I'll skip through that, but they are specialized in plant production and consulting in particular for regional and urban development. I'll also skip through that because I'm making a half-hour presentation in 10 minutes. So. There are many companies in the group, which is a small group, but it's been growing regularly. Now it has 53 employees with 200,000 plants and 10,000 clients. The market is very competitive. They have about 23 market share, which is right here. That's why they're trying to distinguish from competitors. And there have been also favorable environment. I'll skip through all this, but there have been a lot of initiatives for biodiversity preservation, like the BEST program, for example, that we have been answering as well. There's been some regional policy for green island, as we mentioned yesterday. There's also some constraint. I'll go through the SWOT analysis because we don't really need to go into details here. What is very important is that there are about 237 very rare endemic species in Reunion Island, out of which 37 have been identified as endangered species. And that is a market of about 3 million, if you wish, euros per year, just for this company. The context, what was basically the different expertise they have in particular the expertise in seeding of endemic species in collaboration with real estate companies and collectivities to cover the roofs of certain buildings. And as we're talking sustainable development, here you can see the impact, which is quite significant, which implies a gain of 7 degrees Celsius. That means when you have a concrete roof of normally 80 degrees Celsius through the sun, gives temperature room of 40 degrees Celsius, and with the roof covered with endemic species, they reach 33 degrees Celsius. So there's a significant gain of energy here. Another expertise of this group was that they've been specialized on indigenous plants, and they've been selected in particular in the project Life Corrects Run, it was named, for the production of 100,000 plants for 46 endemic species to cover 9 hectares of land. They also have an expertise in hydro seeding. So for those who don't know this technique, which has been developed in the 50s in the US, it's about using a fireman truck with the water lamp, and you put a special mix inside with the seeds, and they will be fixing normally on a long distance around the motorways, on the highway sides, to make some plantations, or also to restore some forests. The objective of the project was to widen the range of the plants that are being commercialized by the nursery, and also to develop this specific mix of hydro seeding that will allow endemic species to have a better germination rate, because currently these endemic species are very difficult to commercialize and with a good germination rate. Here is the project summarized, in particular with the technological challenges they'll have to face. One is, of course, the selection, and the genetic diversity of the plants will be into consideration. Second, there will be the floral biology. They will have questions about the maturity signs, when exactly to collect those seeds, so there'll be a good chance of the germination. After that, when you have the seeds, there will be questions about treatments, the viability, the dormancy type that you wish to maintain on those seeds. And then, of course, question on preservation, whether it will be desiccation, the right temperature to choose, as well as the challenges of raising the germination rate, as we mentioned. That means full temperature, photosensibility, dormancy raising, and mixed composition, which is very important. And finally, of course, issues about growth, pathogen sensibility once it's planted, requirements about light, the type of substrate, in order to have a young plant that is viable. The innovations here, the questions they will have to answer is the percentage of seeds of mulch, that was the previous presentation, the percentage of fertilizers, and the percentage of fixators. The partners in this group, I will not go through detail, but there's 2 companies in the group, and CIRAD, which is the French Institute for Agronomic Research, which will tackle these issues, which I go over very quickly. Basically, expertise in plant species and laboratory experimentation will be CIRAD's jobs, whereas the hydroseeding knowledge and technical expertise on the experimentation zone will be the group itself. Other partners were still open for partners, in particular if they were going to apply for other sources of fundings. Why not European? Very quickly for the project, there will be identification of plant species, in particular the ones which are most endangered, preferably. The data study and collection, the seed collections, and the CIRAD will take care of all the biological studies in the lab. Following that, there will be, of course, nursery trials and pre-trials on hydroseeding. I go through human resources, you don't need to have all the details. Budget as well, it's 570,000 K. And what the expected results are is to raise the group competitiveness, raise the germination rate for those species, in particular lowering the harvesting and storage cost, and also the conservation technique against the climatic factors. Also increase the range of available plants for the market, and the creation of a new mix for hydroseeding technique. Economic, of course, employment, we wish to have some job creation. And on the scientific impact, there will be more knowledge acquired on the endemic species of Reunion Island, as well as indigenous species. The valorization through, of course, publication on an international scientific magazines. And also establish germination cards for all of those species. And some patents are planned to be deposited on the hydroseeding mixes. And some social environmental contribution, of course, to restore the sites that have been damaged, in particular with invaded plant flags, the preservation of the biodiversity, and we want to preserve our UNESCO World Heritage. Also, some different implications on the managers and natural environmental restoration. And we work close to the population for them also to know that those endemic species can be planted in their own garden in order to restore the nature. So we try to sensibilize the public. This was the first project. I go through the very quickly second one. This one's been achieved and has financing. And it's a project we call phytoremediation. It's on bamboo in order to decontaminate the waters in tropical regions. The objective of one innovation project, that's the name, which is being carried as a project leader by Phytorem, a French company, is to adapt this decontamination technique to special species in tropical environment. So they select bamboo species that are efficient in terms of their effluent treatment and that can be also adding value on the term of biomass utilization for energy. That implicates local actors. Here you have the consortium, that means Phytorem with the CIRAD and Qualitropic being coordinator. And we also have here the cooperative of the pig producers of the island, that is partner because they actually provide all the effluents from the pig farms. This is just to give you an idea on how the bamboo grow very quickly from October 2008 to March 10. So that's a species that is very high growth rate. Sorry about the mix here, but basically what they did is an experimental plot with some different comparison. One was 250 square meters with 40 bamboos from Brut, Lixilier, from the peaks. Another one was from centrifugated. I'm sorry about my English, I'm not sure it's the right word, but centrifuged. And there was, of course, a witness plot with clear water in order to compare. And what they found is that basically they had up 268 millimeters on the surface of 67 cubic meters over 13 months. So that corresponds to a lixiviate supply of 247 millimeters per year. I'll pass on the details, but for the conclusion, it was a very positive effect, in particular on the growth of the bamboo that the lixiviate from Pig is providing. There was a very high nitrate elimination that is really key for our island in order not to pollute the coral reef, because everything that is grown on the island ends in the sea. So there was 94% elimination by the bamboo of the nitrate. And there was also a very low level of nitrate draining in the natural environment, only 1 to 2%. And there was no phosphor draining, 50% directly assimilated by the plant and 50% stayed in the soil. Low potassium draining, only 6%, as the bamboo is a very high consumer of potassium. And the results is basically we have selected some special species, some indigenous from Reunion Island that are carrying this growth. They do value this on the decontamination side with a partnership with SIDR, which is some social housing buildings, and they have a mini, I would say, decontamination plant near a block of 4 or 5 buildings, and which is working fine. And they are also creating solution techniques for the treatment of the pig exhibits. And they have created a company in Reunion Island, but also now they just had some development in Mauritius. Mauritius being actually the country with the worst impact on environment in the whole African group of countries. And they do rely on tourism. As a matter of fact, all their hotels are polluting the lagoon. And that's why they have had a very big contract with the Mauritius government in order to prevent those reunions in the indigenous species to treat water decontamination for each hotel. So very performant project with perspective of growth and expert. Thank you.